This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. The Middle Ground Mike is fighting for truth and unity. Subscribe now or support us today. Links are in the notes. Stand with us.
Before I even get to the AI stuff, I mean, let's get to the social media because I mean, it's all so interconnected. Mark Zuckerberg and was the former owner of Twitter. I refuse to call it that letter. Jack Dorsey, like, I'm almost forgetting that, and I think it was I forgot it was some Indian person at some point until Elon Musk bought that and got that person off. Yeah, no, because the truth is out. Government pressured him to censor, and I'm against that. And I did say that. As I don't care if you lean to the left. As a Joe Biden, I didn't agree with him doing these censorious tasks. I disagree with that. But however, they did cause a great damage to the youth because look, you already said it. Their CEOs don't allow their children to touch any of the products until they're either teenagers or, to even extreme cases, adults.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be warned. That should be a red flag right there. They know something that we don't, and that's why we pay attention more to CEOs.
All right, welcome to the Middle Ground Mike, everybody. What do you get when a history-obsessed AI analyst here meets a centrist political reformer, if you want to call me one? A conversation that America has been avoiding but is desperately needed. And I even told him before the show, man, I knew I had to have you on as soon as I read it. Today, I'm joined by Elias Martin. Correct, I said your name, right? He's the host of Political High Tech, a 329 episode juggernaut covering politics, AI, spirituality, technology, and the human condition. 2 shows. We definitely have a similar goal. Stop the tribalism and let's start the thinking. Let's find the middle. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And I gotta say, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna expose me for a second. I am typically a difficult guest because if I know you can't pitch, if I just see you just giving random, and I'm going to give goofy examples you won't even believe. I can give you 2 that comes to the top of my head. One of them want me to come on the health podcast. I'm a fatty right now, okay? I don't have the credibility to talk about health or tell people how to eat.
Right.
And the other one was freaking, what was the other one? Oh, finances. And so, well, I'm not a millionaire yet.
Yeah, me
so if you want to destroy my credibility quick, you get the middle finger, I pass you right away. And I ask some questions. If you don't answer them, I look at you as a coward, I will pass you right away. Normally, I'm a very difficult guest if you do the basic things wrong. But if you have some alignment or have some awesome pitches, I am willing to listen. But for this show and Joe here, it was a no-brainer. And I love those no-brainers. I was like, yes, because I want to say yes real quick. But if I'm seeing some misalignment and some craziness, and I think one of them even wanted me to be on the workout podcast, I said, listen, the only thing I will work out is me crushing you with my freaking weight, which I could do, okay? And after that,
I've definitely had some offers from some ones that I'm like, I wouldn't even know what to ask you because I'm not that type. And they're like, oh, okay, but we were just kind of talking. I mean, let's jump in to the obvious that happened today, man. Like, holy cannoli! I mean, because beginning of the show, you got to get the hottest topic in to get people to listen. Donald Trump, what was our president thinking today? Like, like I was saying earlier, 1,000% right. Those senators should have never been calling for people to disobey the president. That is un-American. It's, if he was telling people to go execute little kids, fair enough, you can say that. But as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong. I could be ignorant, but he hasn't done anything of that nature. But for him to come out and punishable by death, I mean, to me, and again, I'm not being anti-Trump here, but that could push some Republicans to vote to actually impeach him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. When I start laughing at a post like this, I was chuckling out of pure nervousness of what the hell is he saying? I actually agree because if you want a bipartisan impeachment, a successful one, 2 of them failed in his last term, maybe 3 times the charm. Do we want that now? Trump, you're already unhinged already. You're just confirming that. Look, I think I hate to admit this, his instincts is right, but his response is just
Yeah, he's got some best instincts
Yeah,
ever.
it's toxic and it spews vitriol. Let's be clear about that. And even I think even John Thune was shaken by. No, I don't absolutely agree with that. And he's kind of hard to shake. He seems like a real tough, tough Senate Majority Leader, and I gotta give him respect when he don't fully listen to the president because his job is not to fully listen to the president. He could agree on some of the agenda, fine, because they're Republicans. But if you're just a blind person, this is why I criticize Mike Johnson. He's a loyal minion to Trump. Anything Trump says, he's just gonna do. I don't respect that. Even Hakeem Jeffries is weak too. Oh yeah, you want to talk about the middle with the House? He's not that great either. So we got two feckless leaders in the House. Yeah, but I don't get off the rails too much. Yeah, Trump. I mean, this is I hate to say this is what you expect from Trump, and this is the same one that joked about being the Pope with the AI thing. It's a troll. I know it's tasteless to
I think this
some.
was more out of anger. It didn't seem like a
Yeah, this
typical
is.
troll from him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It was just like I think he just said his quiet part out loud,
Yeah, like I'm
kind of
telling you, my,
thing.
my fucking my jaw hit the ground when I read that. I'm like, there ain't no way he actually said this, and I'm like, and they're like, yeah, he did. And I'm like, my wife is just, I'm like, let me get on here and look. And she's like, holy shit, he really did. And it's like, it really goes against. I don't know if you ever seen when Bill Maher talked about when him and Donald Trump had dinner together. And the guy behind the scenes is not the same guy you're seeing in public. And it's like, are you sure? Now that I see this, are you sure? Like, are you really sure, Bill?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, he got flack for it. I give him credit for doing
Yeah.
that, by the way. For those giving flack, to hell with you and your tribalistic opinions. No, we need to look. My end game is not to get everyone to agree. We'll be a totalitarianistic nation. Want to be China? You better agree. There is a right opinion, or
Yes.
else you're locked up. Okay, you want to be the next China? Oh, I know who said that. Hassan Piker. I call him out for that. You see, you just confirm all the suspicions of the right. There you go. Now let me go defend the right a little bit when it comes to a loony like Hassan Piker. He's such a hypocrite too. How the hell you're a communist, but yet you're such a capitalist of so many things, and you got $1 million mansion. Stop, stop. But hey, you know what? But let me get back to the Trump thing. It's just no. Yeah, this is one of those things that you had to verify to see if it's true because it's just so outlandish. You thought this was AI or because AI had Trump say crazy things about Marjorie Taylor Greene, the ancestors, to F her, she's a C, all that
Yeah,
stuff. They got
she's
their beef right now. And the AI made Trump go on a full uncensored rant on Marjorie Taylor Greene. And some says AI, some says it's him being real, but the voice sounds slightly off. I had to listen to it again. I think it's AI. But I won't be surprised he says it behind closed doors. It won't be the first time. But yeah, Trump, this is wishful thinking, of course. Try to be a little more presidential. I don't mind some of the troll stuff. I get it, but this was out of pure anger and vitriol for sure. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, no doubt. And it was just I don't even know how to like properly say it because I'm like, what do you say to that at that point? You know what I mean? Like it's at that point you're just kind of sitting there and you're going, well, what's about to happen next? You're just kind of looking around the room, and I've talked to a couple people who know the president to a degree. Pastor Jackson, God, terrible last name, Langmayer. He's on the White House Faith Council. He's a pastor out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. He ran for the Senate. Really cool guy, and he's said the same thing. He goes, yeah, the president behind the scenes that's not who he is. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? You can't tell me that's not who he is. Like, what? And he goes, no, he's actually like this really normal guy. Like, are you sure? Like, it's hard for me to believe it, and that's kind of what takes me to, the point is, the tribalist moment, right? Like kind of think you've talked about in one of your episodes. And, tell us like how you kind of got to that conclusion.
Oh, that this is for me just being behind the scenes, spew my political opinions, and just realize how people are divided. I brag about having Democrat, Republican friends, and I'm so happy to have those. I don't care about your political orientation. It's just if you're going to be a tribalistic moron, is where I have a problem with this. It's how you approach things is where I have an issue with. Not what your political orientation is, what you think policies should be implemented or rejected. That's a healthy debate. How I got there is from a lot of political conversation I had before I started a podcast. And I just
Same here.
realized a lot of centrists or even independent voices are not represented. I'm trying to be one of those. There's certain of them that's beating me right now in terms of clout. I doubt in terms of thoughtfulness and uniqueness. I'm pretty, and I could just say it's one side blow up. Then they say this guy is a unique person. There's gonna be no one like it. And you know what? That to me, that's a big compliment. You love me or hate me, to me, that's irrelevant. I don't go for the high school drama. Love me, hate me, I'm still gonna be me at the end of the day. But my thing is to try to get people to understand, talk to show. This is why I have different people for different political spectrums, and sometimes it's the same issue, but for more for left or right. I had one who was on the right for abortion, and I challenged him pretty healthily, and he said he wanted to be challenged quicker. So okay, no, man, I just do want to get to know you without challenging you. But
Yeah,
I just said, well, I said I gave him some good questions. Okay, what about those who do abortion, but they got no guilt? They're happy as heck. It's oh well, it will take a long time for those. I said, oh, okay, that's such a good answer. I get that. I love some good answers, but and then one on the left about implementing AI in the government. He's not progressive. He talks about that. So I'm trying to bring even some of the best on both sides of the aisle because look, I love to bring the worst on both sides of the aisle. That's easy to find on the internet. Just check Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. You'll find the worst very easily because those ones that get a lot of clicks, that generates a lot of buzz. I was saying the most stupidest things, racist things, controversial things. I mean, Donald Trump right now is a great example of that. It's controversial to say the least. I think he's just, you know what, you say what you want about Trump, but in some ways, he just makes this game or career pretty damn easy because he just says something, it's news.
yeah, he gives you plenty of political fodder, that's for sure. I mean, there ain't no denying that one. You know,
I was gonna say one more thing, and then
sure,
Biden, real quick, it was the complete opposite. Slow as hell. I was like, oh, can we get to next week?
Sleepy
There's no
Joe.
bounce of this country. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, no. It just made me think of the Sleepy Joe comment, that Trump always used to make. And, you jumped from private research to public podcasting. I mean, what made you do that, man? I mean, that's a big jump.
Oh, well, the research part is something I did as a hobby. I'm not like a professional researcher. I just research topics and I realized I had a searching habit, but I never did a job on research. A lot of people say I should, but for some reason I never get hired. Maybe they don't like my unorthodox thinking. Well, screw them. They missed out because I could have been a very fair minded observer, not just researcher. I said, look, this is what you should say to Democrats and this is what you should say to Republicans. And, I am part of organizations trying to bring the red and blues together. We don't say left to right, red and blues together. You know which color that is. You're not getting a prize for guessing that. Too easy. And well, Braver Angels, that I push this organization. It's a good organization in all 50 states. I'm part of some of their talks, and look, to be honest, and I call out both red and blue. I said, no, I'm a purple. I'm a purple compared to you two, because you two are arguing. I'm just sitting there being quiet. I'm just writing out why you both were silly and crazy people. This is the microcosm of what the hell is going on in America. So this is a great microcosm. Just writing notes. Okay, this is why this one's wrong. This is why this one's wrong. This is why this one was right. And this is why yeah, I got my own crazy methods. I'm not gonna explain that. You're gonna have to dig that up, and I put that and I spread them pieces of pieces. So good luck with that. That one I intentionally keep that ambiguous and fragmented, because it is maddening, and you have to have my type of mind or be very very, I would say, borderline crazy creative slash intellect, and I got the IQ test to prove that. But I'm not going to get into the intellectual flexing there. But I got to podcasting because I just got tired of, and this is on me because no one really told me to shut up or anything, is that self-imposed fear. I was like, you know what? And when COVID happened, I had and time too. I didn't have a lot of time. So that's what opened the window for me to start this podcast. It started January 2020.
Yeah, that's
That
it's a long game, man.
Yeah, and I got my small but humble and intelligent audience, and I thank them. I should thank them more often. I mean, that should have been the feedback I should have got, because sometimes I don't even thank them. I kind of lecture them sometimes and say, "Hey, you want to think that way? That's fine," but there's no evidence for that. And I thank them for that, and I thank you for having me on. So far, it's starting off great. Look, I can speak 200 miles per hour, give you a bunch of stuff. Just a warning, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna follow your.
Yeah, I mean, let's dig a little bit into AI, right? I mean, we kind of had to get that Trump thing out of the way because that just really like stuck out, and I had forgotten about that. But AI, we both talked about having Eric on, and one of the things that I had asked Eric, and some of the younger folks may not think about it this way, but I called it the Skynet effect. With AI, and I flat out asked him. I said, people want to know because they don't understand. Is there actually an off switch? And he said, nope. There's no off switch. There's like, it's just, it is what it is. And, how, like, you knowing that and you've interviewed him, your background, like, how does that exposure like shape like politics and human behavior from your perspective?
That's a very good intersection right there. If I was a grade teacher, if I was a school teacher, I would give that an A for that kind of intersection right there. No, but the AI thing, I have integrated into politics easily several times. Look, there was fake calls attacking Joe Biden, and you have to be extra careful because now the campaign ads can be extra deceptive.
Mhm.
And now, I could do an AI video. If I don't like you, I can make you say the N word, even though you never did. So
Yeah,
that's scary.
right.
But you could also make very, strong. You could create ads with strong hooks on the bright side of it. So like I said, it's a double edged sword. Even though I lean towards the positive camp of it,
Yeah,
but I
same
am
here.
aware of the dangers. That's yeah, I'm the optimistic positive camp of that. I am aware of the fraud, well, not even potential, has already been happening, that they mimic the voice of someone that force you to give money, they blackmail, and yeah, that's not fun at all. And AI data gathering, they're doing this as a target people. Well, for me, I don't think that I figured out because they give me left wing, and sometimes right wing, and sometimes left wing, and sometimes right wing. So and I even interviewed this ethical data man, Walter Harrison. So you could be a hard one to pin out. So yeah, because I don't follow stereotypes of both the left and the right. I want to be right when I want to eat my Texas sized steak, and fries or whatever. And then the next day I want to be very liberal with the Asian foods and all of that and act vegan. So good luck with that. You have a hard time figuring me out. I go by the wind on that one. Especially when it comes to food. So I think I'm a food anarchist. I just go by wherever the hell I want to eat, whatever is available. It's just look, I just be extra careful. And I'm happy that websites, and this is the positive, they're labeling their stuff AI, especially the Sora AI videos. Some of them are wild.
Yeah,
I
man,
bet
I've
they
seen some of those out there. I'm like, if I didn't know, you know what I mean? I mean, you can generally pretty tell that they're AI, but some of them, if I didn't know, I would. If I didn't pay attention to AI, you know what I mean? Like where you can spot things. If I was just yeah, I probably would have believed it if I didn't know any better. But there's some things you can like go where it's like how the person like stares at them. You're like, oh yeah, that's fake.
Oh, yeah, and especially how the voice stays perfectly clear, even though they're so freaking distant from the camera. I mean, that's one example. But you could call that video editing. But yeah, but you could kind of tell it was consistent, clear, even when some reason they use obese women. Sorry, obese women, you've been exploited for jokes and insults. Fat man too, but for some reason obese women are used more, or at least that's just my feeds. I have to do a metadata analysis on that. Who's used more, and of course, the racial stereotypes are been exploded as well. And the Martin Luther King stuff was I cringed,
I was like,
and
I do like
especially
the
when I
Mister
got a
Roger ones
dream.
though.
That one, I don't know. I got a bit of I'm my feelings on that one because look, freedom of speech. I get that. You gotta take the crap that you don't like. Let's just be clear. If you be for principle, him and Bob Ross and the freaking WWE match, it was funny. And then after I was like, oh man. I was like, these are the only people that show me that I could be a good person. Was it for them, I would have been a crazy person. About it wasn't for these two. They gave me some hope in humanity before I developed a relationship with God. This is my pre-God relationship people right there. For better or worse. And, I was in my feelings for those, but I laughed. I was like, oh man, but I think Sora's putting some restrictions on that. Oh, and then of course the anime stuff. Japan's not very happy about that. So Dragon Ball Z, that One Punch.
Don't know that one, but I know Dragon Ball Z for sure.
Oh yeah, Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, that's the goat for the American anime consumers. One Punch, yeah, One Punch is okay. He's just too damn strong. It's not, he's I get what the show's point is. You build the villain looks cool and amazing. One Punch looks dull and bored, and he is because he can just easily beat them and all this hype. Also, he just punches them easily. Then they're defeated because the bad guys took all this gang of crap, taunted and all that, and then all that hype was built for nothing. I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard. I said, "Man, this guy looks so dull and boring. Nothing special, but he's very powerful." But yeah, but they using those animations, and yeah, the Japanese studios they're not very happy about that.
I mean, a lot of studios aren't happy with AI right now because it's really taking work away from them to a degree. That means like like in your opinion, right? Because we both kind of done some episodes on AI. You've done a little bit from a different perspective. I got lucky enough to have Jacob Ward, shout out to him, great guy on the show, and he kind of gave me more of like the political thing of it. And there was this what he was telling me was, and I mean, you kind of know this if you're just looking at it, but I don't think it's ever really been like said is there was this kind of like this unwritten contract between big tech CEOs in Washington to where they're kind of left to their own devices and they're treated as the heroes of America. And then along comes Donald Trump and Joe Biden to where they challenge that narrative. And now you're seeing, so that's changing the direction now of a lot of things to where now you're starting to see to me some ideas like, okay, hey, we're gonna no matter what, we got to make sure we have X amount of humans doing this, and it was very I don't say that concerning, right? But one of the big things he said is a lot of the products these tech CEOs come out with AI, Microsoft, whichever, they don't allow their kids to use these products till they're almost adults. They don't their own kids. They will not allow their kids, and a lot of them won't even allow to have their kids like cell phones or tablets. They're like 10, 12, 13 years old. Whereas, the average person at 2 years old, I mean, I'm guilty of it. My kid's like, hey, let's, it's just Nickelodeon, but it starts them on that path. And, you and I, we grew up from analog to, so it's a little bit different for us, right? It's a lot easier for us to put it down than it is the younger generation because it's all they know. Whereas even though we're addicted to it to a degree, right? You still understand how to be out in the real world compared to them. And, like, where do you think like some of that stuff is going, right? Because now you got big tech used to be seen as the heroes of America, Superman, and now they're getting made out to be the villains.
Yeah, before I even get to the AI stuff, I mean, let's get to the social media because I mean, it's all so interconnected. Mark Zuckerberg and was the former owner of Twitter. I refuse to call it that letter. Jack Dorsey, like, I'm almost forgetting that, and I think it was and I forgot it was some Indian person at some point until Elon Musk bought that and got that person off. Yeah, no, because the truth is out. Government pressured him to censor, and I'm against that. And I did say that. As I don't care if you lean to the left. I said Joe Biden, I didn't agree with him doing these censorious tasks. I disagree with that. But however, they did cause a great damage to the youth because look, you already said it. Their CEOs don't allow their children to touch any of the products until they're either teenagers or, to even extreme cases, adults. So that should be warned. That should be a red flag right there. They know something that we don't, and that's why I'll be paying attention more to CEOs. And I'm gonna go to this COVID bit where I became skeptical of the just skeptical of the COVID vaccine. Just be clear, I'm not anti-vax. You call me that, you're an idiot. I'm also skeptical of the COVID vaccine. No, shots for rubella, measles, they done excellent work, and polio and all that. But the COVID ones, I was skeptical because the CEOs won't take it. I said, oh, so they know something that we don't.
Yes. Yes.
They know something that we don't that is very harmful to us, but they're not saying it. We got to pay attention to what the CEOs are doing because they're giving you some hints of what they're not doing. Sometimes not doing anything is revealing.
I mean, you're not lying on that one. They who is it? God, which CEO am I thinking of? Not Open. Is it OpenAI? I forget which one that essentially said, trying to blink on the name, it pretty much like, yeah, AI is going to take over everything you do, and you're pretty much going to be rendered useless. And just kind of paraphrasing, I drew a blank. It like the name just went. I had a memory crash right there. Stack it, mix error. God, now that bugs me. I got to look that
Yeah,
up
I
real
know.
quick.
I know there's Sam Altman, and there
Yeah,
is
Sam Altman. There you go. He said it in some kind of words like that. What do you think of that? Like, do you think it's truly going to replace humans in a way that some of them are made the doom and gloom making it out to be?
Not entirely. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some things are going to be replaced. I mean, it's very happy with the tech layoffs and all of that. Let's
Yeah.
just acknowledge that for a second. Before we get deeper, I mean that's part of the course. Unfortunately, with major disruptions like massive technological innovation. I mean, what's the last major disruption that happened? Oh, the Industrial Revolution, where a lot had to move from farms to the cities. That was a major disruption at that time. So that's the kind of thinking I'm using here. That's my research history kind of brain being revealed there about how massive innovation causes disruption, and it's messy. Some people are going to lose jobs, but you know what? New jobs are going to be created because a lot of them want that AI expertise.
Yes.
That's where the money is at. So, yeah, some jobs are going to be gone, but random useless. I might say until we millennials are dead, maybe that's true. But that's just me being hopeful now. But look, I could be wrong as well, but I don't want to be wrong at this case. I want to be wrong about other things, but I wish Trump never said that craziness. That one, I wish that was not true. But that, yeah. But no, but it's not as I don't think it's as doom and gloom. Truth normally lies in the middle. Yes, it's messiness. Yes, some people could lose jobs, especially if AI could do. Like I said, AI is good at doing boring, repetitive tasks.
Yes.
Admins and clerks, those are the ones that are in danger. Paralegal, you're in danger. However, those who need to interact with human beings, and of course, those who master AI, are going to keep their jobs.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
they will. It's I kind of
Oh,
a lot of the
and
youngsters.
nurses. Let me not discount them. Like nurses, because anything that requires heavy human interaction, they're not going to go away. Look, I know AI is used for dating and all this other stuff, and even just talking or having a friend because some people are lonely. I get that, but there's just some things AI just can't do, no matter how advanced it gets. I don't know, but then again, people are so lonely that they might fill that void. And to me, in my opinion, not to be very disrespectful, but it's quite sad. We're losing what made humans great. And if we keep up this trajectory, we could eventually end ourselves because we are social beings at the end of the day. Not saying we're getting there, but if we don't disrupt this or find innovative ways to get humans together using technology and using AI, I'm fine with that. Then that's gonna ruin us.
I know,
You
I know a
know,
lot of countries. I'm pretty sure it's nowhere. Sweden and Australia are now putting it to where you can't be on social media till you're 15 or 16, and if they catch you on there, your parents are held responsible. Like they might actually legally come after your parents for being on it. And I mean, that like conservative parts of me kind of goes, but then like I don't want to say like the common sense part of me, but like the common like you see how kids react these days, and you're like, not necessarily maybe not a bad thing, but at the same time, you're kind of like that government overreach. But it's kind of like one of those things where you kind of got to like balance it. And I lean on the side of them not letting kids get on that young because you don't understand. They'll see things on the internet, right? But you don't always really understand how it's going to affect you till it happens to you. It's just like people say, you don't know till you've been through it. You're like, you know it, but you don't know how it's going to affect your consciousness. And I don't think kids quite understand that because they turn into keyboard warriors because they're able to put whatever's going through their unformed brain completely. It just comes out on social media and they go, what's the problem?
Let's take a quick break.
The Middle Ground, Mike, isn't just another podcast. It's a movement for unity, for truth, for a future beyond the left and the right. But movements don't grow without people willing to stand up. Subscribe now on Buzzsprout. Fuel this mission directly on PayPal. Every subscription keeps the fire burning. The links are in the show notes. Be more than a listener, be part of the middle ground.
yeah, and that's a lot of the conflict, especially with the Gen Z to less extent, but definitely with the Gen Alpha, even more exponentially. And yeah, I think that's what's causing the division. Not blame youngsters. Some of the accountability has to go to the adults too for letting them be on social
Yes.
media for too long. So let me just give a very balanced perspective on that, and that's why you see me as a very involved uncle with my nieces and nephews. I educate them on social media. I let them use it, but after a while, I just said, listen, just drop that. They're going to be fine. They're not going to die. You can get on it later when something boring happens again. Deal? When we're done with this stuff, then you can do that. And me, I mean, I'm somewhat addicted to it. I'll be lying if I had to tell you I was not. But when it comes to like a really fun event, I'm gonna forget my phone because I'm having a fun time. Look, I'm doing the so-called touch the grass, experiencing reality, smell the air, smell the air. Well, clean or not, well, New York City, except for some parts. So I love New York City. Even if I move out, you can't take the New York out of me. But I am also a fierce critic of it because some of it is just filthy. I'm just going to be honest. Even
Yeah,
though,
we all been through it. I mean, I'm a little bit south of Detroit, so
yeah, but I'm just, I look, once I've been in the city, then I'll be more brave just to say what I think. But for the time being, I'm just gonna say, yeah, I can see dirtiness in Detroit, and Los Angeles, all these other cities.
yeah,
I've really been there, but I'm just, I can say just based on what I saw, from academic perspective. But I want to experience it. Sometimes you got to just experience some things, then you know how you feel, react, or maybe your opinion will change.
yeah.
You
No,
know,
I mean, for me, Detroit used to be really bad. It's on the up and up now. I mean, they're building new skyscrapers. They pretty much renovated every single one down there almost. And I mean, hell, Apple just built a 2-story store down there. So did Nike. And when you're getting those big brands to build those kind of stores in your city, you're doing something right. Because they're not going to put it there unless they plan on making a lot of money. They're not doing it for warm and fuzzy, commercial clips. That's I mean, it would be nice, but kind of like going on to, like, let's talk a little bit about the political history, right? We're talking a little about George Washington thing. I'm gonna throw you for a curveball here because I haven't talked about this in a couple episodes. 17th Amendment. Do you know kind of a little bit about that? I'll give you a little bit of a generalization of it because there's more to it. The part that I really go into, and we kind of talk about it. So we talk about our government representing us. Well, like Washington doesn't represent us or the states consistently anymore. So the 17th Amendment, its purpose before that, the Senate was appointed or elected by the state legislatures. And then the populist movement changed it to in 17 because of the corruption. But I'm like, well, now it's a lot easier to expose corruption than it was 107 years ago. But what because you got the House that represents the people. The Senate was supposed to represent the states. Well, the fact that the Senate pretty much represents the people too is why you have so many problems because the states are part of the main structure of our country, and the main structure of our country is broken. So, to me, like I'm in Michigan, you're in New York, we know we got a healthcare problem. Well, the people of this country on both sides of the aisle want the healthcare problem taken care of. The state governments need it taken care of because it's draining their budgets like no tomorrow. Well, if the state governments were actually represented in the Senate, the House will pass a lot of things that the Senate won't even glance at. So I think if you had those two things back, I think we would really have more of I think we could make progress and it would break the partisan divide.
I mean, yeah, you know what? I did notice. You know what? I never put that two together because I remember Senate was elected by the people of the state, through their own state electoral college, as opposed to, by the people. Yeah, now it's true people. House representative, that's always by the people, local, by districts,
Yeah.
depending on the population. That always has changed. Yeah, I'm gonna brag about New York for a second. Back in New York, New Yorkers have the most House representatives, but that's no more. We like the fourth largest now on that. Florida just beat us not that long ago. Texas and of course California, they've been beat us on that. And yeah, I just forgot I was the 17th Amendment. Yeah, that's obscure one because that's one that we don't talk about that one. We know the 19th about women's. I'm about 27 about the congressional raises. Of course, I know the first 10. That's what. Oh, the 14, the 13, 14, 15 amendment, the civil, the I would call the Reconstruction amendments. All that good stuff.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, but the
civil war.
17, yeah, 17 is like, oh,
It's one that's not talked about a lot, and
yeah.
I think, I don't think there's like some kind of conspiracy why it's not talked about a lot. I just think that a lot of people in certain positions don't want to talk about it because back 100 something years ago, yeah, it could have easily been corrupted, right? Because you could a lot more easy to do backroom deals. Well, to me, if you made it more kind of going back to the people in the individual state, like the electoral college aspect of it, or even appointed by your state legislature, one of the two, you're going to take a lot, even though there's going to be money in it, no matter what you do, you're going to start separating the money from it more and more. When it would have to be set up correctly, and to me, it's one of the only ways. I mean, obviously, there's going to be other ways because I know there's like I mean, fuck, Congress can't even agree to they can't even agree on the color of crap, let alone, get rid of a constitutional, amendment. 100 years ago we could have, but not now. And I think, putting things like that into perspective, because we were both talking a lot about political history. And it's a lot of people don't realize how watered down our education system is, especially when it comes to political history. And what really got me, I did an episode with Susan recently. She was a arms control negotiator for the US with the Soviets. And, she's big World War II history buff. I love World War II. I love just looking into it because 80% of what we learn in school is either barely accurate or kind of just so out there. Like Americans don't even realize what put us over the edge with the Soviets were the Nazi scientists we kidnapped. But people don't know about Operation Paperclip. It's not talked about enough. And if it, in some instances it is, but it's like it's blown over so fast. They put it in there so they can hit the checkbox maybe that they put it in there. But it's like, have you seen October Sky, the movie?
No, I heard of it though.
So in the movie, one of the guys big, like, "Ooh, hey, you missed your hero." And, it was about, going into rocket thing. And it was Walter von Braun. He's like, "Oh, Walter von Braun." And I'm like, man, we are still celebrating a guy who sent Jews to their deaths after he wore them to twigs. He's still celebrated in this country as if his crimes had never happened. And here in Detroit, we celebrate Henry Ford. Well, I mean, gosh, if you ever wanted to meet an anti-Semite, I mean, he was one, and and I'm not like saying like bad or good. I just think that part of the reasons why we're having the division and things today and why we have to feel the way we do, like how you feel, how I feel, is because they don't teach us these things.
Oh yeah, no, ignorance breeds division, and especially the few of those who are willing to dig up and question, what they've been taught. I mean, question what I've been taught, and you're right. They just it is just to put a very, very, very simplified version. They glance through all of it. They give us the simplified, plain bread toast version of history. It could be a whole deluxe sandwich, just so please the publishers and all that. To just please the publishers. The stuff I learned about World War II was definitely more interesting once I got out of wherever the heck school taught me. We talk about the 6 million Jews. They don't talk about the gypsies, the gays. All that. It's actually 11 million. That's one specific example. They talk about the 2 atomic bombs, or they don't talk about how many Soviets were cannon fodder, for America's fight against Japan. I mean, Russia lost a heck of a lot of troops, and I think they realized that they were being used.
Yeah, it's a lot of people don't. They also don't realize is that when it boiled down to it, Stalin didn't actually want to go to war with Germany because he knew how it would cost him so much. But Hitler put him in a position he didn't have choice. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like you got to do it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because if he did nothing, forget it. He would just take over. I mean, look at France, Poland. Look at those nations; they got taken over pretty quickly. Yeah. So if you do nothing, doing nothing is not an option.
Yeah,
So
and I
he was
mean,
just
it's kind of where we're getting to with Putin to a degree. It's and that goes back to that is so some of the propaganda going in Russia right now is Putin really kind of leaning into World War II. So here in America we're like, we went in there and we saved the day, and well, Russia does the same thing to their people. We went in and we saved the day. If it wasn't for us, all would have been lost. And Putin, some of the stuff that I've seen, he's really like leaning into it. Like he's trying to portray to be, we've got another World War II type of thing coming if we don't act.
no, yeah, and that's the big conflict. How are we going to deal with Putin? Not just Putin. He's building up the army very massively, and of course, North Korea or Iran is weakened. I'll say good for that. I'm not a war hawk, but they would have striked us. Well, they would strike Israel, especially that one. I was actually, Trump. This is the thing when he likes to over exaggerate his impact. As he did some damage, but he didn't really damage the nuclear capabilities. He just did some damage.
And he gave him a heads up.
Yeah, he's good. He's good at that. He's very good at that. As unorthodox as it is, at times I don't mind it because it could be advantageous. I don't know. Not another thing. Ideally, I wish all these wars never happened, and they should be. We should finish them as quickly as possible. And especially, we talked about this briefly about the Israel and the Palestine conflict, about, and I agree with Israel's right to defense. So I'll never criticize that. Because if they don't, they would have been blown to smithereens a long time ago. The Jewish people would extinct there. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Especially during its pre-Israel state days, early Israel state days, they were surrounded by Muslim countries that just wanted to destroy them. One point, Egypt used to be aggressive, so I will, I'm a pro two-state solution kind of guy, but I say in order to get that done, though, Bibi Netanyahu got to get his butt out of that government and all those Zionist far-right people, and for the Palestine side, Hamas needs to be wiped out.
Yes.
That's the only way that we could make some progress. And of course, be wary of the PA, of the so-called more moderate, the other half of the Palestine government, like two different governments. They're sometimes they're a little shady too at times. They're more moderate compared to the Hamas. You got to keep them on track too. So as long as we can have some kind of collaborative government somehow, keep a two-state solution, that's all I'm there for. But look, let me just be clear. Israel has been overtly aggressive, that they are murdering more women and children than they are intended to target by exponential amounts. Okay, that's clear as day. And if you want to deny that, then I know who's paying you.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and like I said, I told you, I got no issue with what Israel did. They had every right to. Somebody come kicks in your front door and murders your family, you're going to fight back. I mean, it's natural, and if anything, you should be expected to do that and not sit on your hands. But at some point, people are like, well, we got to do ABC, and I'm like, at some point, every war ends with the people that we don't like still existing on the other side. That's reality. We didn't like the Nazis, but there was still plenty of Nazis there that were living, no officers, obviously. There's still plenty of people who were Nazi sympathizers left, or people who didn't like America, in Japan. It's war, you fight. You're probably never going to get those folks in that era to like you, but you got to stop. Like, at some point, you got to go home. You proved your point. Go home, call it a day, get a hot dog, whatever you eat, kick back, watch some, as they call it over there, football. But, and the people over there, and I think that's what a lot of people here don't see. There's a lot of protests over there, and it's not just like a couple thousand, it's like hundreds of thousands sometimes. The people in Israel, a good chunk of them don't want that war anymore.
Absolutely. You're not getting that for the mainstream American news for sure.
Yeah, and that's and it's just sad. It's like, like we just need to report on what it is and let people go from there. I mean, that's the American people they're not as dumb as politicians treat them when it comes to international things. Domestically, we are. I would say Americans sometimes can be more clueless about our own politics and have more of a clue of what's going on somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Especially those who are, I call them, what's a nice term? Call them global citizens, if you will.
Globalists.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I mean, whatever term we go with, yeah, no, I can see that. And they used to be me at one point. I was like, oh crap, I gotta study, my roots, and I can start getting to study the local politics, state politics, the federal politics. Oh, this is why some things don't work. And this is why the impeachment where they need 60, not 51. Because they have, I forgot, I think it was 54 was the vote. Oh, still not enough. It's not 60. You'll need to be a mathematician to figure that out. Still below that. And
But don't get me going on that.
I think the Ukraine one was a very stupid impeachment. I already said I was going to fail. I said, I'm going to laugh at you. I said, and this is my left wing friend. I'm still very, I'm good friends with him, but I did had a very good debate with him on that. He even thought I was, I said, no, I'm not. I said, trust me, there's going to be a time when I'm going to jump the I will say the early Trump train, because I know he's bit loony, and it's gonna be partisan, especially January 6th. I was like, okay, I can't never vote for him again. So anytime he runs again, nope, can't vote for him. Good conscience, I can't vote for him. We all know why people, especially if you use the left wing narrative or the center right narrative, you'll know why. I said, I know you was a bit loony, but you just you proved your critics right, and the fact that he's president again, it's a political miracle, really.
Yeah,
and I gotta give him respect for that, because most politicians, they're done after this. I mean, they're just their political careers are. I'm gonna call a gamer term permadeath. They got the permadeath. They never come back. No resurrection. But his political career had a resurrection, which is miraculous.
That's why they call him Teflon Don.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the 60 vote thing, that man, I can tell you that I probably went on so many House reps and senators' X accounts, and I was lighting them up. They were like, the subsidies and this, that, and the other thing. I was like, why? I said, why don't you guys stop lying to the American people? Stop lying to them. And actually, why don't you start telling them the truth? Why the fuck do we need subsidies to afford something that is so basic? You have better coverage with car insurance than you do medical insurance. I mean, you can get into an accident with your car and the deductible is cheaper than it is for your medical care. Like, you go to the hospital, right? And let's say your deductible is 20%. You have $10,000 worth of bills. Well, you're still paying 2 grand, but most people's average car deductible insurance is like $700 to $1,000, give or take. So it's cheaper to get your car fixed. Like that makes, when a brand new car is $70,000, $80,000, it just doesn't get to me. And I'm like, we need to go after why we need subsidies in the first place. People are going, we need it to be able to make it affordable. It's not going to be affordable because at some point they've got to come back to you and go, I need to raise your taxes to keep paying for it. That's my issue with it. My issue with Obamacare, my issue with all these things is they don't address the real fucking problem of the cost. It's not access like they love to say in the political ads, access to healthcare. Unless you live in a rural community, you can find a doctor in a hospital pretty damn easy. Unless you're like, in the rural community, fair game to say that. But in the suburbs and the inner city, you don't have that problem usually. So I'm like, why are they so chicken? I mean, I get like the money aspect, right? The who donates to you, right? But with all the uproar in this country, how come we can't get past that? Because that right there, it gets me going. I even did a thing and I posted some graphs is if we really went after the administrative costs of healthcare in the United States, we really buckled down and went after it, you could literally reduce the cost of healthcare 20 to 30% without touching anything else. None of the exorbitant stuff, just the administrative costs. But people are like, well, you need checks and balances. I'm like, those checks and balances aren't really fixing anything because we still got the fucking problem.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I mean, healthcare needs a damn change. I mean, let's be real. You already said cost. That's my right wing brain activates. Lower that damn cost. I mean, look, most developed nations pay a fraction compared to what we pay for with our healthcare, and to a great degree, I mean, we could debate the details. They have better outcomes for fracture the cost. Generally speaking, don't get me wrong. I know the British healthcare system got their own issues. They all got their issues.
But yeah, I mean that's natural.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing I always criticize Americans. Don't be that romanticizing the foreign stuff because unless you're in it, you're not going to learn the flaws.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's Europe has some things that I think that America would, benefit. I mean, really, the American government structured like a European government in a lot of ways. I mean, it makes sense. A colony of Europe. Certain, how we process things here is a similar way. Not completely, because a lot of Europe, even though they are democratic, they still think in a monarchy mentality. They don't want to admit it. But when you look at how they talk, it's like, we guys talk like a monarchy still, and I think a lot of people forget, if I'm correct, Spain still has a royal family, doesn't it?
Let me double check that. I haven't been checking up in Spain's
Spain just kind of
family.
exists.
I think, yeah, royal, yeah.
Since
Spain's
World War II, they just exist.
I think, yeah, let's see. Okay, yep. Oh, yeah, they still do.
Yeah, and that's, people don't realize because they have elected prime ministers and everything like England, but people don't realize is that a lot of Europe, not a lot, but some of Europe still has kings and queens. Like they still have these things. They're not as democratic and like people don't realize like in Germany, right? If you get arrested for denying the Holocaust and they don't have jury trials there, they have tribunal, 3-judge panels in a lot of situations. And if you deny the Holocaust in court, it's 10 years. I believe it's 10 years, right around there. Automatic prison sentence. Boom, you're going away. But I mean, their prisons, to be fair, kind of like a Hyatt hotel almost, because you have like an internet, you have a computer with internet on it in a lot of your cells. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'll go. It's kind of weird, but people don't realize we do have free speech over there. And Europe doesn't have free speech like people think that it does. It is very, very restricted. People talk about censorship. You want to talk about censorship? Go spend a week in fucking Britain and go on while you're over there, even as a guest of their country, go over there and start talking shit about their government and watch what happens. You will be arrested.
Oh, yeah. People say, oh, America is so oppressive. No, you don't know what oppression is. Go to a Middle East nation, especially for the women. You want to know oppression, you idiots? go there, okay? And look, and I say it's for your own good because some of you just spew stupidness. And I'm not saying America is not perfect, 'cause it certainly is not. And there's things we could fix there. I agree with the criticism with the red pill, the manosphere. Trust me, I'm on your side of that, woman. They're a bit loony on that, but I'm also not on the side with the far radical feminists where men should exist. Okay, so you just want to end humanity. That's what's going to happen. Good job. I'm not for radical anything. I'm pro egalitarian. That's a fancy word for equal partnership.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's why I'm there for. So like, I don't care you're gay or, well, polygamy is actually illegal. I wish it wasn't for your sake. For those, who knows, you figure that craziness out. I'm against it, but I'm not gonna hold your hand and keep you away from it.
I mean,
Sometimes you need to learn.
uh,
Gotta learn how to deal with the
I have
consequences.
one wife. I have no idea how the fuck anybody could deal with more than that. One wife is more than enough for me.
For a normal, for a normal sane person. But there's, if you don't want to challenge it, go right ahead. In some cultures, they're even okay with that. And all I'm gonna tell you, the men that have multiple wives, they are exhausted. Just the same. Just put it in minimum. Just barely scratches the surface.
Well,
Okay.
you know what the problem with that is today, and why you've had the rise of the that man thing in America is, and this isn't a criticism against women or feminism or feminine men, nothing, right? I don't experience this too much because I don't know if it was just by default, by values, by the way we grew up, but me and my wife kind of like, to a degree, for the most part, in a lot of situations, she kind of defers to me, or just certain things defer to her, like kind of like those traditional roles. To be honest, really, like, it wasn't planned at all. Like, we didn't sit down and go, well, this is the man's job. No, like, like, cause I was busy with work a lot. So my wife just got the hedgers out one day and just started doing it. But for the most part, a lot of the things are traditional, right? Like, built a new bedroom for my son. I did, right? But when it comes to some of the things with the kids, the wife does it. But what it is today is you're expected to be that. You're still expected to, in a lot of situations, be a provider, be that rock of the family, all that old school dad stuff that people used to talk about, and then be feminine enough, be connected enough, and da da da. And I don't think sometimes society realizes women are wired to do that a lot more easily than men. Like, it's a lot more natural for them to do a little bit more of a broad spectrum of things because it's just how they are. That's okay. In those ways, it makes them better than men. But there's other things that men do that men have an advantage, right? And I think that that's where a lot of men feel a lot of pressure. You're like, I got to be this, but I got to be that, and if you don't do certain things, society goes, something's wrong with you. You're a bad person. You should be doing this. And it's like, well, you say that, but if I was out on the streets, you'd be calling me a bad person even more because my family ain't got a place to live. So and I think that's where a lot of men struggle. And then now you're starting to see a lot of men going, you know what? Fuck it. I'd rather even be labeled the nut job misogynist and have a wife that's okay with it, or I'd just rather be single than deal with it.
Oh yeah, no, I get that. And just to balance out with the woman, some of the women are expected to be a mother while even being a working person too. So
Yep.
that really disrupts a lot of relationships as well. And look, I'm not a relationship expert, but I just know that's caused a lot of disruptions and contradicting societal messages too. Like for both men and women, just like you said, men are supposed to be, tough, traditional, stoic, cry, but yet they want men to be vulnerable and emotional. And, yeah, it's a gray area, but at the same time, society just throws a whole bunch of noise. Oh, you got to be this, you got to be that. And both men and women that, women is going to end up doing certain things. And, some be traditional. Some will be, radical feminists where men are evil. And I disagree with that strongly. Men and women are needed. Let's just be very clear about that. So that's where I draw the line right there. And yeah, I think that's where this, it's just, social media did so much damage to that too. I mean, it's just a stupid messages that they push for both men and women, and they both contradicting, they both challenge each other, and the algorithm goes by what the user likes.
Yes.
So if the women loves men hating content, they're going to get more of that. If the men love bashing women and think they're inferior, they're going to have social media give them more of that kind of contents, furthering increasing the divides, chambers, and tribes. I talk about political tribes more, but that's creating more gender-based divide and tribes, and that's not helpful for anyone.
Well,
Let's just be clear about that.
yeah, I mean, talk a little bit about the political tribalism, right? I mean, tribalism is, and again, I'm not criticizing sports because I am a diehard Detroit Lions fan, through and through. I believe Honolulu Blue. This is my first year without season tickets in 15 years. But they got so expensive because they got good, and all of a sudden they started just jacking up their prices at like an insane rate. Oh yeah, I mean my tickets went up probably 200 or 300% over the last 3 years. And at that point, it went from 1800 for three nosebleed seats near the top of Ford Field to close to 5,000. And I'm like, my pay didn't go up that much, and all my other bills are going up. I love you guys, but at this point, I can't keep cutting other things to be able to go. And then the parking, I used to be a parking downtown Detroit, these games, 40, $50 tops. Now, if you don't want to have to walk 3 or 4 miles, you're looking to 100 to 150. And I'm like, you know what? I can watch it from my little studio in here or in the house with the wife. Like I'm not paying that kind of money. Like, you're on crack. And I still watch it though. But the tribal politics thing is, I mean, think about it. We all like to go and, I like my team. And I think sometimes because the sports industry is very good at getting you to be aligned with your team and everybody else is the bad guy, is that sometimes, I mean, actually, let's be honest, most of the time it carries over into people's political beliefs, that mentality. Because when you're 7 years old, you're not learning to be loyal to Democrats or Republicans unless maybe your parents like one of us. But you're watching TV or you're watching something of that nature. And what do they always do? My team, they're the bad guy. And that's kind of what, back when we were growing up, it was good guy versus bad guy. Kind of that was always the theme of a lot of shows. But now it's my team versus your team. You're the bad guy because you're on the opposite team. It's not that you're bad. You're just on the opposite team, so I don't like you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always use that analogy because of politics. You gotta stop treating like it's a gang thing, a team sport thing, because people are gonna suffer, and that's why I'm against that. But you're right. That's how people treat politics. The Dems versus Republicans. And sometimes more interesting ones is intra-party divides when it comes to certain issues. Progressives versus the centrists or Democrats, and then for the Republicans, it's the neocons versus the conservatives.
Yes,
and those tend to be more interesting to me. It's like, ooh, what's dividing this party? And nothing divides a party like war.
No, I mean,
Nothing. Yeah, I mean nothing. I mean, generally speaking, and some issues. Which one divides Democrats? Oh, policing. The centrists kind of sides with the Republicans to some degree on policing, while the progressives are like, oh no, we need totally different. Police are too brutal. We need social workers.
I mean, you're not lying at all. God, they came out. Neocon became a real popular term during the W's administration. That's when it kind of really, neocons, and now neocons are called rhinos. And I'm not gonna lie, I freaking hate that fucking term rhino. Like, what the hell what's a rhino? Like, I know what they're trying to, traditional Republican, but what the hell is a rhino? Like, how does that factor in?
I don't know. It's just a simple, it's a slur. Let's be clear. It's used as a slur that these people are not real Republicans. They're just saying that they are, but yeah, they support all this liberal, even communist crap. If you want to go extra further with it.
Yeah, that's their stance. Well,
Yeah,
the people who hate them.
Yeah. And I think Trump even popularized that one, rhinos. And yeah, get rid of them. I mean, a lot of them ran away. This change considered rhino. She voted with him like 90% of the time. I mean, so it's not a policy thing. It's more of a personality contest. If you don't line with my brand of republicanism, you're the freaking enemy. Paul Ryan, another one, washed out. John Boehner, gone.
I was really disappointed that didn't get a chance to lead America, and it's because he was so dry that they never really found any real dirt on him outside of his company that shipped jobs overseas was Mitt Romney. I mean, literally, the worst thing they really had on this guy was, his company BlackRock, but I forget which one it was, shipped a bunch of jobs overseas. That was the worst thing they had on this guy. And it's like, America, let's really think about this here. That's the worst we have on a possible presidential candidate. That's like the closest thing you're going to get to an angel as a presidential candidate than we're probably going to have in our lifetimes. And the problem and everybody's like, oh, he's racist. And it's like, he he loves his grandkids, and a couple of them were adopted, and they're mine. You know, there I believe one was Hispanic, one was black, and I'm like, and even before he got the president thing, you know, he took a lot of pride. He takes a lot of pride in his family, even to this day. It's a very big part of who he is. He's very loyal to his wife. Like, you never heard anything's come out about Mitt Romney was cheating on his wife. Nothing like that. I mean, there was even rumors about like Obama smoked pot in college. Not that I really care about that, but nothing like that came out. And it was almost like America was like, you're too clean.
Yeah, that's cynicism, unfortunately. Now, we can't believe that. That can't be true. So I'm sure there's some, maybe like young men, maybe, let's throw the Epstein thing in there that's trending. Maybe these are the Epstein files. That's a thing, that's a big thing. Look, allegedly, let's be clear. I'm pretty sure he's not there. No, but that's the thing that Trump is using as dirt. That's a Democrat thing. I'm sure Republicans are in there too.
Yeah, no,
a lot of people are in that damn list.
Well, you seen what came out the other day, didn't you? During, I think when they were trying to impeach Trump or whatever it was, one of the Democrat House reps were texting Jeffrey Epstein for dirt, and I'm like, how embarrassing, man! Like, and then when they were trying to use that as a flex last week. And they were going, Jeffrey Epstein even thinks Donald Trump's a bad person. I don't know if Jeffrey Epstein would be the person I'd be using as a measuring stick for who's good or bad. If you're saying he thinks Donald Trump is bad, then Donald Trump's good. Like, that's how a lot of people are going to look at it. You know, and I mean, and then they tried to do the email with the victim over it. Like, completely dropping the fucking ball on the fact that everybody and their mom that's in any kind of political circle has watched any political channel for more than 5 minutes knows that was it Virginia? I forget her last name. I believe that's her name. Had already come out and said Donald Trump didn't do nothing to me. He talked to me. He was a polite gentleman. Weird went on, never went in any rooms. He literally just pretty much said hi to me, you know, and it was like they were in the same orbit of each other type of thing. Like, there was no setup for them to sleep together. Like, and they're like, oh, look, he knew one of the victims. Well, yeah, but that victim already came out and said he didn't do anything.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to get a Democrat's name out right now. And this is a non-voting delegate. They exist, but we rarely talk about them. You know, the territories like Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and that was Stacey Plaskett. Okay, very embarrassing.
Yes.
Yeah, epic fail. That's a millennial slang we ever heard in a while for that one. Yeah, there you go. Showing off the age a little bit, or
epic
just fail. Yeah. I mean, come on. You see, this is my issue with the Democrats. You fumble at obvious stuff. I mean, the fumbling is just through the roof. I mean, even with one of the trials I thought would have been good against Trump until they screwed the procedure was that Georgia voter case with the judge at a fair with the prosecutors. Not fair about the relationships. Come on, Democrats. You're dumb. This is probably the only case you could have potentially, allegedly got Trump down. But no, you screwed up the technicality in the procedures of it. I mean, what the actual hell? I said, this is why I'm done with you, Democrats. This is the main reason why I became an I. Because the Republicans got crazy, the Democrats got too dumb and weak. I was like, this is why I've been the I ever since 2017.
Well, I mean, look at Jasmine Crockett. Was it yesterday? I believe it was yesterday. She came out and said, which person was, somebody got money from Jeffrey Epstein, but I forget who was it. I forget which Republican it was. She was saying, but she was like, from how she said it is from someone with the name Jeffrey Epstein. So she said it like that. So that way the person who really wasn't paying attention would hear Jeffrey Epstein, you got money, and go, oh, look, he took money from Jeffrey Epstein. And then the internet goes off on her. And so did the news, and they're like, as a doctor. Well, the FEC, anybody who looks up the FEC would know that 99% of Americans don't even know where to look for the FEC. Okay. Like, and I'm not knocking my fellow countrymen, but it's just not something they get up and they think about every day. So stop playing it like everybody's a congresswoman. Okay. And she likes to act like she's from the ghetto. She grew up rich. She grew up with a silver spoon in her mouth. Stop acting like you came from the hood. You didn't. You are a very well articulated, educated woman. Like, act like it. I don't agree with her on a lot of things, but she's not dumb. Like, she knew exactly what she was saying when she said someone named Jeffrey Epstein. She knew exactly what she was implying. She's not dumb. And if she really didn't know, if I was her, I'd be firing whoever told me from my staff to be putting that out on there. I'd be like, yeah, you're fired, because this could backfire on me in 2026.
Oh yeah, and that's yeah. I mean, Crockett, she's a very smart lady. I mean, sometimes this why I got disagree. Look, she knows it's a theater, so sadly she pulls on the ghetto act. Do I always agree with it? No, there's times where you could be, professional. That look, it's an act, of course it is. I'm not gonna disagree with that. And yeah, I looked up her things. Oh, you educated and you rich and all that, but yeah, you trying to act like you're down with the hood. That will put some people off once they dig into that. So I get where you're coming from. It's not invalid what you're saying, but my thing is, I just think she's just doing it because it's theater. You got to get buzz and attention, and sadly, acting ghetto is sadly a tactic.
I think her campaign advisors are giving her bad advice because I think she could literally be, because a lot of people see when they think like, okay, political powerhouse black woman, they either think of Michelle Obama or Candace Owens, right? Both very politically educated, very educated women that are strong. They don't hide behind certain things. I'm not a big fan of Michelle Obama, and it has nothing to do with her political party. It has a lot of things to what she has to say. She tries to make people feel bad for even existing, in my opinion. Especially if to me, she doesn't like Caucasians or is like, I know she likes George Bush, but just as like in general, just sometimes some things she says to me gives that impression. Like behind closed doors, she may be like, but I would hope not, because to be fair, her actions in public have not done that, but some of her words come off like that. That's what I don't like. But Jasmine Crockett, to me, should be an example of, hey, we can do it too. We are just as good as anybody else. We're just as smart. We're just as hardworking. We can do it, and let's shove it in their face.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Michelle Obama, I do agree. Some of her speech is off-putting. She may mean well, but her delivery speech could be sometimes very off-putting. And sometimes I just say, shut up. I don't want to hear you right now.
Yeah, she has a lot of good ideas, but then I had the Antifa guy on my show, right? The guy, well, I hate seeing Antifa guy. I just don't really know how to describe him. Well, besides that, he made a comment at one point in the show where he goes, well, white men. And I was like, hold on. I was like, if you've got a problem with white men, why would you come? You contacted me to come on my show. So if you have, but then he kind of clarified a little bit, but he was going to get ready to go down an anti-white person path. And I was like, hey, come on now. Like, nobody here is treating you like that. We're not going down that rabbit hole, and it's like, I guess I just don't get, like, when sometimes certain people are frustrated, like, why does it always become that narrative? Like, some of their references towards history aren't wrong. I'm not arguing that. I mean, there's still racism every day, but there's racism against all races. There's gender, I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying that it exists. And to just kind of like, it compartmentalizes the issue. And then we never make any progress. And it's like, it really off-put me with her about that, because I was really hoping she could be that, because I didn't like Obama. I'll say I voted for him the first term because he said he's going to go after the banks. And then when he turned around and used several hundred million of the TARP funds to give bonuses to the executives of all the banks because we have to retain their talent, I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my capitalism is really rusty here, but if you're bankrupting your industry, you're not talented. Well, they could go to China. Please do. Please go to China, run their banks. No problem, man. Go for it. Here's the plane ticket. We'll pay for it to get you out of here. But he turned around and gave him a couple $100 million bonuses. I was like, he's no different than everybody else. I'm like, right then and there, I lost all support for him.
Oh no, I agree. Yeah, but he's just said, listen, and my instinct said he was more moderate than he was giving himself. That he was freaking campaigning and branding himself. I had that instinct, but I did vote for Obama. Sadly, twice. And look, yeah, I went against Mitt Romney, not because he was bad. It's just because
he's dry.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no oomph.
Yeah.
No,
if Obama had half the oomph that he did in his first term, which is more than enough to pass. But thing is, Mitt Romney, his margins of losing was definitely lowered. I mean, better than was it McCain's?
Yeah, I mean, if Mitt Romney would have had a little bit more of that Reagan personality, he would have won easily. And what really killed me is when Obama was running and they really tried to go after Mitt Romney for saying we should let Detroit go bankrupt. They're like, oh, look, he's going to kill everybody and da-da-da. Then what did Obama do? A guy did bankruptcy for Detroit. I'm like, you guys just literally vilified Mitt Romney for this. And then you turn around and it was the second thing that he copied Mitt Romney on. He plucked so many things from the Mitt Romney playbook. Obamacare, Romney Care, how he handled Detroit and the cash for clunkers and all that, identical programs to what Mitt Romney suggested. I mean, he not a lot, but he copied a couple. Like Mitt Romney had some really good ideas.
I was hoping Ron Paul would have been the nominee. I would have actually went to the right already. He was the one I was actually looking at, but for some reason I just had a gut feeling they're gonna do something. They're gonna do something just to bury him, and that's what they did. And they prefer a Romney. I said if it was Ron Paul, I think Ron Paul would have been a better choice. I would have gave him a shot. I mean, this is what I was leaning towards. This is when I realized I was actually more of a centrist, I thought, because I saw him as a moderate Democrat already, even as 18 years old. I saw as a moderate Democrat during Obama years. Yep, aged myself a little bit there. Yeah, I realized I was not as progressive because some of the progressives that don't make sense. What?
Yeah,
no. Talk to me. Bring it. No. Talk to me. How is a mental health person going to help de-escalate violence? No. And I asked, no. I said, no, not very specific. No, you got the answer. Shut up. I get this on on easy mode, and you still can't answer it. I gave you 3 chances. Normal mode, you would have went off the rails once. I would have just cut you off. Okay, but no, you got 3 chances. You could have you just said a whole bunch of talking points. I said, no. Look, I'm all for forgiveness and, if the criminal reform and then get them out, but you have to prove that they actually freaking reform, but however, I'm not just slap of the wrist. Oh, you can steal a couple of $100 worth of things and nothing will happen to you. I said, no, this is how you birth and fertilize more crime.
Oh yeah, no, let's.
When it comes to policing, I definitely favor generally the right wings, policing or the censor, or if I'm going to be moderating, barely censor left, because even the censor freaking understands on policing. It's a progressive that really don't, and that one with this. I like your healthcare, but not your policing.
Yeah, your policing's gonna get everybody shot.
Yeah, and was you gonna be forced to use these healthcare if you pass the policies, or they're gonna drop dead. That's reality is going to drop dead. So,
let's look ahead to 2026. Both have interviewed candidates from parties and talked to people. And so which political narratives do you think, because, you're definitely a lot more of a home run hitter, I'm going to go after you type of guy, right? And so what do you think will dominate the 2026 cycle? And which ones do you think are going to fail? Just like, you don't got however many you want to do.
Well, this is how I normally do my predictions, and I gotta flip it upside down because my early predictions said Republicans, I think they're gonna keep the Senate, but I don't know. Democrats are sending some gravitas candidates. I think if the Republicans are not careful, they could cause some upset. Like James Taralico, I think that's a good one that they send. I think he could flip the seat blue if the Republicans just play their normal playbook. They're going to have to update games to prevent that from happening. Nothing is guaranteed. Let's be real. And then the House with the Republican gerrymandering thing, which is a chaos now because some of the Trump appointed judges for Texas for Texas was redrawing the congressional districts. That was blocked by a Trump appointee. Interesting. Yeah, that was interesting. So they blocked that, and yet California's is getting there to pass. And this is why I told a couple of people, I said, don't worry, the Democrats are actually going to win this because they actually have the people vote for it. That's going to be harder to struck that down. As for Republicans, they just passed it through the state government, and that can be challenged. And that was going to happen. I didn't expect it to be this soon, to be honest, but it happened.
It'll probably go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. And I think the Supreme Court is going to overturn it. Let's just be real. I think that's what they're going to do. Because look, this is why I break down the Supreme Court. There is the strong right, center right, and just the left, and they all have 3 each.
Yeah, and from your perspective, what should Americans pay attention to coming up? And what noise do they got to ignore?
Well, they got to ignore the 2028 presidential noise, which is going to be creeping up. That's the reality. And what I think they got to pay attention to is one key thing, and 2025 is giving me a little bit of prediction that affordability, housing. This is where the Democrats have been winning at, just like they're in 2020, I forget what years, one of the off years where they did abortion. Abortion was the thing that they got the winning even in red states. Let's see, affordability. I won't be surprised they're going to be throwing that more often. I won't be surprised if crime might be another thing that they're throwing in there, but I know affordability is going to be one of the biggest things to pay attention to. That's what's making candidates win. Even moderate and progressives can use that. That's how Democrats whoop the Republicans' ass in this off-year elections, almost
Yeah.
across the board. Affordability, and they can easily prove how dysfunctional and bad Trump is too. On top of that's another thing they're gonna go with. Trump bad. You see what's going on? You gotta elect. You gotta elect us, but attach it with affordability. See, the problem with the Dems in 2024, it was just mostly Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. Not enough alternative ideas. Now they gotta put some alternative ideas with that. Now they got a accommodating, winning message. That's what Republicans are gonna have to watch out for, especially in the Senate. And I won't be surprised in the House too. They're gonna have to really pay attention to that because 40 districts are projected to be competitive, even with just gerrymandering stuff that the Republicans do and the Democrats. 40 seats are going to be competitive, and that one's anyone's game. I said the Republicans going to barely keep. I think the Dems might take the House. That's my prediction. If I'm going to say by how many seats, I'm probably going to say 5 to 8 seats.
Yeah, if the Republicans got, love or hate Marjorie Taylor Greene, I mean, really, not everything, but some of the key things she's really come out with right now or talked about, if Republicans actually paid attention, it's what their constituents actually care about. I mean, let's be honest, she's really kind of like, she knows she got a fucking election coming up. And she knows this is what they want. And it's kind of her job, and it's like, yeah, they want healthcare. They want some of these things out. Like, that's what they want. And, I'm not a fan of hers necessarily, but I give her a lot of kudos for coming out and having the balls to pretty much put her political career in jeopardy, to stand up for what she believes in. People are like, oh, she's a Nazi. Well, first, she's not a Nazi. Second, just because somebody's got an R or they're MAGA does not mean they're Nazi. Let's stop with that, people. But she says some outlandish shit, but she even came out and apologized recently for engaging in things that cause political violence. She came out and said, I was wrong. And I'm like, man, like, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I've been agreeing with her more and more, and I was very critical of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Me too.
And I say between AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene, I say I barely favor, and I'm not a big fan of her either. I say I'll barely favor AOC, and I say I believe Marjorie Taylor Greene would kill her. That's my thing. That's why I said, of course, allegedly, speculative. We don't know, but I still think Marjorie Taylor Greene will still kill her, allegedly, again. But I'm sure she's not going to do that. But I think, another thing, you got me thinking. You triggered something here. Economics. That's another thing in general.
The economy's stupid.
Yeah. The Dems run with that, which they fumbled majorly several times already. The House could easily flip to Democrats if they just change that. Affordability, economics. And you could even tie it to why Trump is a crazy madman. I'll agree with that criticism, but not Nazi or anything like that. I disagree. I still disagree with that. You don't have to convince me not to like Trump by using Nazi language. That's hyperbole and that's toxic too.
And that probably credit crap, and that's what I hated.
Yeah, I disagree with that man at least 70% of the time on a good day, but he didn't deserve to be shot.
I'm about a 50-50 on him. I agree with him a lot in principle. Don't always agree with some of what he thinks is application, but in principle, I definitely agree with him probably more often than I don't.
The free speech, and I'll say some of his character, I'll say, yeah, I give him props on that. And he wasn't afraid to, talk and engage. And this is why the Republican young base, especially among young men, that's why they have outperformed Democrats. I won't be surprised he's a factor to that. And of course, Trump going on the podcast and all of that. But look, Dems, you got to win back the young men and win working people too, if you want to have a winning shot. Not just some young men. I mean, you don't need, what you need is working people. Really, if you want to win a heck of a lot more elections. But and I think you allude to, feel free to correct me here, by fragmenting, compartmentalizing the very discriminations on race, gender, sexual orientation, all that. If you stop that and make it to a coherent unity, Democrats, that'll be the winning message.
Yes.
I don't know if I sound like a Democrat political consultant, but if you want to cause some upset, and I like a good upset, I'm talking to you more. Because Republicans got all the chambers of federal government right now, and I want some balance. I need to win something. If it's just, and if you want to block Trump further in the House and the Senate, even with a freaking slim majority. Okay, you need at least 218, not that far, Democrats. Make sure you do what you can. And for the Senate, you're going to have to flip at least 4 seats.
No doubt.
tough because I'll say at least out of the 24 Republicans that are up, only 3 of them are barely weak. 20 are looking solid. So Democrats need some, people gravitas, charisma. The Kookas call it Riz. All right. You're going to need that. You're going to need that in your candidates, and put some authenticity in there. Some, the one I'm liking right now to some degree is Wes Moore's your good example.
Down Texas.
Okay.
Is that Texas or
What?
Florida?
No, he's Maryland. He's governor.
Maryland. Why is that the wrong state?
And I almost confused him with Rusty Bell. Don't worry about it. He's in Missouri. That took him. What's this lady's name? Corey Bush's.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm not a fan of him. He drinks that Israeli Kool-Aid. We'll donate to him. I'll just expose that. So come on. That's I was like, quack like a duck. It worked like a duck. It's a freaking duck. This is
anytime.
You don't need to be smart, people. You don't need to be smart. Just pay attention. Pay attention. You'd be surprised how much you could put things together if you start paying attention. Study some basic human psychology. What motivates people? You'll be able to figure out some of this stuff. Don't get me wrong. Some things are surprising. Like Trump is really unpredictable. I get some of the predictions wrong, and he's really a wild card sometimes. Like also he's like, I'm saying, I'm not gonna do it. All of a sudden he releases it. But be careful. Just pay attention to what Pat Bundy's gonna do. That's what you gotta put your eyes on, because she's gonna probably do some craziness to do some redactions. Gonna be parts of redaction, and I'll be pissed.
Oh yeah, I can almost guarantee you that's gonna happen, because they had a lot of the victims that have come out and even testified to the House, I believe, said that they didn't care if some of their names came out. They wanted people to be held responsible. And the House and the Senate and the president could have put in certain things to give the attorney general certain mandates, and work around some of this stuff. And it's like I said to a Democratic, I said they chose not to. And it was Ro Khanna from California who came up with the majority of that bill, and he did not even do it. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, the last 4 years. And I'm like, well, technically, I believe it was October of 2024 when they technically would have been able to really put it out. And I'm like, fair game, go after Trump, no doubt. But if Democrats were so concerned about it, when it hit in October 2024, right before the election, if you had serious dirt on Trump in that, you would have dropped it, because that would have won you the election.
Exactly. I've been always saying that. This is why I say this is a Democrat desperation comes to the Epstein thing.
Yeah.
And they even pull up these emails that just lie to say, oh, Bill Clinton was never there. Come on, that's bull crap. The photo easily debunks that. I mean, come on, people. Come on. You can expect Americans just to believe everything. I mean, emails can lie too. For example, just use a simple example. I visit you. I say I'm gonna be there by freaking 7. I'm there by midnight. What? And then you can speculate what the hell happened between 7 p.m. to midnight. Was I partying? Was I lost? Whatever, right? And that's what I said. I'll be there by 7. Or even worse, I said I'm there at 7 while I'm lost or whatever. If you use some kind of GPS device or if you want to dig up evidence, I'm in freaking Illinois partying with the Chicago people at that time. Okay, so the point is, emails don't always tell the truth. Okay, that's my main. I mean, can we use this evidence? Sure, as long as it's not debunkable. That's my point.
Yeah,
so,
I know what's in the details of them? No, but my gut tells me if there was anything in there that would have been damning for Trump, and where I drew a red flag when they were coming out with some of that stuff last week or so. If you were so concerned about the safety of these kids, how come you weren't putting out anything about Larry Summers? Because as soon as those files were getting voted to be released, all of a sudden Larry Summers resigned from his thing and he's disappeared.
Yep.
And it's like, come on, guys. Like, and I say all the time, you don't have to lie about someone to go after them politically. Go after their positions, go after their track record, go after their history. Stop going after them personally because you don't like them. That's fine. You don't got to like them, motherfucker. Just be honest about it. Like Donald Trump, yeah, he's had a thing for, as far as I know, girls over 18, but younger women. Very well known. If you want to make that a campaign issue, go for it. It bit you in the ass last time, but go for it. But there's no need to put false narrative out there where that person that you're trying to make it about already came out and said he didn't do nothing. And it's public testimony. It's not even hidden. The reasoning behind that was to kind of get a leg up and to put pressure on Trump to to get this done. And that to me, it's all it was. It was a ruse, and and the thing is Republicans really need to play. Like if I was a Republican strategist, I'd be going in the campaign commercials, not just on some stupid ass press conference. October 2024, the Democrats could have released the Epstein files, ABCDFG, ABCDFG. Like I would be hammering that home like no tomorrow because it's an issue that people care about. Republicans should have released it too. They've had every opportunity all year long. Not arguing it, but the opposite side is trying to say, well, they should have. Well, you didn't release it because you didn't want to lose the election. So let's stop acting like that wasn't the case. And you guys didn't even really ramp up the pressure until after the elections this year. You were talking about it, but that pressure did not really get applied until after the elections. Why? Because I think even most of you don't know what's in it. And you're afraid what's going to come out of it from about one of your donors or maybe someone you know.
And maybe just, a few current politicians. Well, I'll say a few, just to be a little nice.
Yeah.
And
I don't think a lot of them are in it, but some for
yeah,
sure.
no, yeah. And it's gonna affect both parties. And,
yeah.
I mean, I forget who. I think who was a Democrat senator said, "So what if Democrats?" And I think Chris Murray's like, "Yeah, so what? Just release the damn thing."
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But,
Just release it. Let's just follow where they may.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I don't care if both parties lose a couple of people. I really don't, because a lot of y'all corrupt anyway. So I'm not gonna lose sleep or cry. Even if it's my favorite politician, because I care about policy at the end of the day. That's what lasts us a lot longer than the person.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Let's be clear. That's just why that's a major flaw of the MAGA is all personality based. Once Trump died, I think most of MAGA is going to disappear.
Yeah, I think it'll disappear in its current format. But something that I don't know if you heard of the Yale study that just came out recently that I think is obviously, people flip political things all the time, but Gen Z 18 to 21 are 12 points more conservative than the other half of Gen Z. And they're more conservative than they are Democrat. And that was done by Yale. And then what was even more telling, I won't say more telling, but more surprising. They are going to Gen Z, like I forgot how they measure it. I think it's like per person per capita. However, they're going to church more often than the last two generations. So, even if they moderate themselves a little bit, which tends to happen as you get older and a lot of people, they're still going to lean a certain kind of way. There's a political shift. I'm not saying it's like a conservative shift, but there's a shift towards, I would say, modern conservatism in Gen Z, not the traditional evangelical. No, I'm talking modern, like how not her, but how Major Taylor Greene would say, like, where's the healthcare plan, right? Like they're conservative, but where's the plan? Not just get rid of Obamacare and give everybody their money back. Well, it's doing nothing different than what it's doing right now if you do it that way.
Yeah, that's my biggest criticism of Republicans. Where the hell's your alternative to Obamacare?
Yeah, and I think that's where Gen Z is going to be going. And I mean, both of us sitting here are some old timers. We're not technically there yet, but we're definitely getting in that crowd. Would you have ever thought that
Don't
Gen
speed
Z...
up my age before you get to don't speed up the age. Come on, let me live. Let me be on copium. Slow that down. I'll just go right ahead.
I mean, but I would have never thought till I seen that poll with my own eyes that would be true. You would have never convinced me at all. I'd have been like, bleep you, you're full of it. And then I seen that and I was like, now granted, it's just one poll, but it's done by Yale. Yale definitely traditionally.
But there's voting records that's even revealing that little by little within that age group. Between 18 to and the right dominates, especially the young men. They're the ones that want to marry and go to church. So it's touching that, and maybe that's what's more going to come. As time goes on. And of course the young women. They're still Democrat, like a good chunk of them, and they're definitely more liberal. And some says it's going to cause the gender divide because men are going to be more. I mean, it's always been men been more Republican. Let's be real, but I think it's going to be more pronounced than before.
And there is a small section of women that are growing on that side too. What a lot of people don't realize is I think it was 9 of 10 red states that had abortion on the docket this last cycle in 2024. 9 of 10 passed abortion rights. In red states, Bible Belt states passed abortion rights. And they still voted conservative in the election. That's the modern conservative. They may not agree with it. They may think it's a terrible thing, but it's your right. That's where I would never ask a woman if I got divorced or no. It's just something I can never do. I have no hate for anybody that does. It's not my business. But, and I think that's where a lot of younger conservatives are kind of the ones that I've talked to. They kind of lean in that camp where, I mean, Charlie Kirk's kind of like he was really far to the right. Like, I mean, about almost all the way in the corner in a lot of situations.
No, yeah, I agree. There's this, well, yeah, I agree with the labeling modern brand of conservatism, probably more pro-abortion, and who knows, they're probably more accepting of even gay marriage, but there are things that, because the way you framed it, which is true, yeah, it's more about my right. I mean, who was the one that was ahead? I call her ditz. I don't like her very much, Tommy Lauren,
Hmm.
because she didn't think Puerto Rico was part of America. Yeah, I'm gonna repeat that again. Good job, Crystal Ball, for exposing that. Even though I disagree with her a lot politically too. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's a win for the left on that one. Easy win. She was like, oh, he's not even the, is it no, here, oh, Puerto Rico's part of the United States. I was like,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for correcting that dipshit. Such a privileged blonde idiot, that one. Never, and you know what? And the fact that she's big is actually insulting to me. But hey, she's one of those, no, even though I'm a conservative, I want to have the right to abort. So she was ahead of the curve, I guess, on that issue.
Oops.
So
Oops. Hold on. Let me turn that off real quick. I don't know how I forgot to turn my stuff off. There we go.
bad host. Stop kidding.
Oh, I usually do, but I'm like, oh man, whoops.
I think you should keep that. But hey, bad host. I'll call y'all a little bit. Nah, no. No, but Tommy Lauren, I think she was one of the few that was ahead of the curve in terms of the abortions. I want the right to abort because it's my body, my choice. She
Yeah.
said that. I'm just quoting her.
Yeah, and you just live your
I'm
life and just let people live theirs. And unless they're fucking with you, leave it alone. Like, let them do their thing. Unless they're like imposing on your family. If they want to sit there and poke a pencil in their eye when they're bored inside of their walls, it's their business.
I will lock the door and then I'll let them do
Yeah.
that. Because, that's a sign of mental being very deranged from there. So I'm not leaving that to chance right there. You do that on the controlled environment. They are pushing a little bit to the left, government standards right there. Then you can do that. I'm gonna just add to the center left's regulations right there. Okay, now you can poke your eye.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Someone's gonna say that's assisted suicide. Yeah, that might be true.
It's just I have not heard that in so long. Jack Kevorkian. That's what comes to my mind when I think it. I don't know if you guys learned much about him out in your part of the world, but he was huge here in Michigan about assisted suicide in the 90s. I mean, he was like on TV constantly.
I never heard of him, but you know what? I think I did, but I just never got the name.
Yeah, if you're
Yeah, I
ever
think he's.
bored, go down that rabbit hole, man. Oof, that one was a long one.
You want to know what's another one that New York even have some, not even statues. Thank God they took it down because this woman was a blatant racist and a eugenist. Sure you're gonna figure her out. Yeah, it's a her, Margaret Sanger. And yeah, the progressives never attacked her. I said, no, just because she was pro-abortion. Yeah, but she was killing black babies.
She
That's
was the
not
one who founded
alleged.
the
The Planned
NAACP
Parenthood.
or Planned
The
Parenthood.
Planned
Planned
Parenthood.
Parenthood.
Yep.
Yeah. I recognize some of the stuff from her. Yeah, but you can't tell people that. I've heard about that, and people like they divert it.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm gonna say it because I'm definitely against that. And now I'll speak up. I don't even care if I lose quote unquote friendship. It was never friendship to begin with. To me, I just burn that bridge. If you make and then that person wants to repair that bridge, I'll shoot that person down. I don't want that bridge to be reconstructed. There's things, like Nazi and communists and all that. No, that's where I draw the line. No. And racism. The one call all these white people. I see. I'm a mixed minority. But even I'm against that framing because let's be clear, most of white people hasn't done that. It's those with power, and that's a select few.
Yes.
So let's be freaking clear about that. That's why I'm very serious. I don't want to hear that all blacks, all Latin, or even all whites. I'm not a white savior, but I don't want to hear that either. That's just racist. If you're gonna at least clamp down racism, be freaking holistic about it. And that's why I go really hard on left. So why are you blaming all white people for everything? Some of them are your freaking best allies. What the hell are you doing, stupid?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me when people do that. Like, not one bit.
I
Not
mean,
one bit.
I'm against all the other people being, racist, dealing with the racism, the Asians, Latinos, the blacks, the multiracial, whatever the heck. Racism is just wrong, period. That's why I draw the line right there. And yeah, no, that's and the right, they got their own brand of racism. So I call both sides now on that, especially the far left, anti-white, the far right is anti-minority. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
they go
And
out. Some of them go out of their way.
yeah, yeah, I'm against that. That part I'm serious. I'm not even joking about that. Like, nope, I put my foot down on that one. Yeah, but
But yeah,
what else you
man.
want to talk about? I could go on for a while.
Let's wind it down a little, man. I'm the bathroom break's starting to hit here in a minute for me. Man, for me this just wasn't like a conversation, man. This was like, it was good, man, because it's like, like that bouncing it, right? Like, just talking about it. Like we can go, hey, this sucks without going, you POS, you suck. Blah, blah, blah. Like, and that's just kind of like, that's where I like to go with things, I gotta get a little bit better challenging certain people, like certain guests, not you in particular. There's been a couple that I probably should have really took into the fire a little bit more. But people, if you want more deep dives, especially if you want somebody that's gonna hit hard, check out Politically High Tech with this gentleman right here, because he doesn't mince words. I'm a little bit more of I want to say polite, but a little bit more not as rough. Because man, you definitely you can get into him. And that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. That's a very, 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 very good thing. Check him out. This is, we're middle ground here. And, even though I'm my way, I feel like you're no left, no right yourself, and that's where we have some big common ground.
But yeah, absolutely. And again, look, this agreement is actually interesting to me because, okay. And I'm not going to say, this simp right here, or this asshole, or this dipshit, or this low IQ piece of garbage, or this white trash from Michigan. I'm not going to do that. That's low IQ. If I was joking, I could joke in that way. I definitely can, but I'll keep it in a joking context. I got to build rapport first. That's what some people forget. Build that rapport first, because you just do it out of nowhere, call you an anti-white racist. Yeah, that easily starts fights. That's the thing people forget. You got to build that rapport and trust and experiment a little bit. Just do a little dip in the toes. If you see it's getting resistance, you just stop.
Yeah, no doubt.
And if it's welcoming, then I'll just say you just go further, little by little, till you hit that limit. Because look, at the end of the day, you want to keep relations going, but you'll still maintain your opinions. Because like I said, I don't want the whole world to forget the whole world. I don't care about that. I want America to be diverse in its opinions and political orientation. It's just this vitriol and this team sport gang mentality. That's where I have a problem with. It's not Democrats or Republicans or Libertarians or Green. Well, I have a problem with the Nazi and Communist Party or paleoconservatism. That's what's way off. That's way off to me. And even to some extent, the Working Families Party, which they make Democrats look moderate.
Yeah, I've seen some of them. Yeah, definitely. Who is it? Not the Workers' Party. I think it's the American Socialist Party. I believe is the name of it that I'm thinking of.
Gosh, it is Democratic Socialists of America.
Yes, that's it. Democratic Socialist America. Yeah. I know like of a lot of them. I generally sometimes I'll get like the far names of them. I just kind of go after the individual issues.
Right. I mean, I can give you specific examples. Well, he's mayor of New York. He's going to be mayor of New York City 2026. So Ram Mandani, for those who are paying attention. And then another one who's up and coming to challenge Hakeem Jeffries, Che Aussie. Yeah, this is very New York. I don't expect you to know this, but if you do, congrats.
No, I'm definitely down to learn stuff.
No, because he's very progressive. He's very New York City. I don't expect anybody. If you're in Brooklyn, you should know this name. Maybe Manhattan. Well, in Manhattan too. Manhattan's the center. Even I disagree. I got the actually. Let me not get into it. That's my New York first world issue about Manhattan being the center of everything. It should be. I look. I can get into that, but nah, I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to spare you.
No, I get it, man.
We had a good conversation on that. And I got my issues with the whole borrow thing. Yeah, that's too local, even for this. But Che Aussie, the reason I mentioned him because he's going to challenge Hakeem Jeffries for one of the House Representative seats, and let's see how that's going to go. My prediction is, I'm going to use conservative measures here. Hakeem Jeffries is going to keep that seat. Let's just be real. The Democrat machine's gonna be behind him, and Che also he don't have enough experience to back him up. He's very progressive. I mean, he's Gen Z, Gen Z, very progressive, black, queer, multiracial. I mean, yeah, he's an interesting one. But the reason why I made national news because he's challenging the current minority leader, and even Zoran Mandani, the allies say, nah, now is not the time. I could get why he said that because if you do so much of that infighting, you're gonna lose the big picture. And the Democrats need to be united, especially for the Senate and the House. Yeah, that intra-party infighting is gonna really hurt them. So I get what Zoran Mandani is coming from, but I don't agree with trying to say no chance. I said let him learn the hard way. I just say, hey, you want to do it? I don't recommend it, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't
That,
blame you
that's
on that one.
that's like, listen, you do you. You know the odds are against you, but if you could pull an AOC miracle, it's happened. It could happen probably again, because I think AOC is kind of popular, so we'll see. We'll see. That's enough. I don't know. I don't know. Hakeem Jeffries has been there for a while, and the Democrat political machine is going to back him, and most of the time that wins.
Oh yeah, I mean
So.
it's unfortunate that it's that way, but Elias, I really appreciate you coming on today. And everybody, if you like this, share the episode, drop your thoughts, cuss us out, whatever you feel the need to do. Everybody stay grounded, stay curious, stay human, and remember we're all on the same planet. Everybody have a good night.